So hello. So it is almost the 4th of July. This is 4 and then your TH, fourth. But if you're doing second, it would be second. You do not have to do OF, you don't do articles, and then you would spell July, 4th of July. You could also do Independence Day. Many people might do that, or you might be signing it for someone like, oh, it's Independence Day. And it's okay to initialize some of those things. Sometimes we do too much, but we want to get away from it. However, this is a specific word. It's a noun, Independence Day. You could do freedom for F, because this is mostly save, but it also means freedom. But I think, and it's not just because it's F for save, but it's just the sign that you break away from the chains. So that also means freedom, independence. It means the same thing as the same concept. And a lot of times we'll initialize it because we want a specific word. Fireworks, that's next on the list. So you could do it a couple of ways. You could do it like, remember I make the sounds when I'm just practicing, but not when I'm talking to a deaf person. Another way to do fireworks is they're streaming. You know how you see them go whee, and they kind of whistle when they go up? You could do that. I don't want to do it like this because it looks too much like stars, right? So I'd rather do it like this. But when they go up and go, right? See what the fireworks look like. You hear like firecrackers. So as firecrackers, you don't necessarily see something, but you'll hear it. But on the fireworks, you'll do whistles, right? And then it different ways. You can do that. That'll be fun. So I thought I would do the National Anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, because it is Independence Day. But everyone knows the words, but when you're signing something, it's easier when you hear the words, so you can kind of keep up with that. And it is frozen text, but also the interpretation. I see different interpretations of. There's not just one way to sign it, but you will, if you do it a lot, then you will get your style of doing something. So let's go ahead and play it, and then let's see if we can do it, and then maybe dissect it if we have a little time. I don't want to go too long, but sometimes it's good to dissect it, right? And you could do music that is coming up with it soon. Okay, so that's the Star Spangled Banner. And I've done it a lot of times, and I do it fairly English way. But you could do it in different ways if you get an opportunity to be a little bit more creative, or you could do it a little bit more, classifier. Because, you could look it up with the battle that was going on. And then Francis Scott Key, after he watched this whole thing, that he wrote it down. So there's different ways to do that. And it's your interpretation, but you want to make sure it's clear, and you want to make sure that people understand what's going on with it. So I draw the flag, my square, and I've got my stripes, and I've got my stars and bright. And even though they didn't say it later, oh, say does that Star Spangled Banner, yet wave. But I still did it the exact same way because that's how I did it in the beginning. But I wouldn't have to necessarily. So, but think about the words and what they mean, because it's a poem, right? He just wrote it down. He didn't write it as a song. He wrote it as a poem. And so the ramparts, you need to look what that is, and that's why I do the ramparts, because it's like a barricade, a fence to kind of protect the soldiers. And they would looked over, and so they still saw, and the bombs bursting in air, right? It isn't necessarily that you could see something, but necessarily they weren't fireworks, right, per se. So, and they didn't say that, but it could be a sound, and they could be seeing something. So that's why I used that sign for that. And yet, does it yet wave? Does it continue? This is to stay. Does it contain? And this is to wave the flag, right? In other words, is the American flag still installed? Is the American way still, or the 13 colonies, their flag, that way of government, is it still going on, or has it changed to British or whatever? So that's why you want to make sure that you have that American flag, that you're showing that that's what he's wanting to know. Is it still there after we've all been bombarded? Did the other side win, or did the United States, did they win? Are they still flying their flag? Which, whenever you win, or you heal, or an area, you you install your flag there. So you could do that. So get the words and dissect it and look at it and see what you think might be best. And so when we said dawn's early light, and so here, instead of the sun, you could do the sun, but I did like the sun. It's coming up. It's a small sun, right? You could do the big sun, and I probably have signed that. The big sun coming up and the big sun coming down, right? But the twilight's last gleaming. And I think a lot of people use the little sun, an F hand shape, because it's getting smaller, right, in the sky, even though you might see it. It's the whole point of it getting smaller because it's sunset or it's sunrise. It's not noon, right? It's not noonday where it's big and bright. And so that's what you're trying to portray, is that it's just coming up or it's going down. It's not this full sun bright and that kind of thing. And so that's why a lot of people choose to use this as the sun coming up and as the sun coming down. And remember, our left arm is our horizon, and this is our sun. But if I was going to say it's sunrise, sunset, I might say, oh, the sun's coming up, right? Or it's going down. And this one's at the twilight's glass gleaming. So it's going down. It just has that connotation of it's smaller. It's getting dark outside, so there's not as much light. Or in the morning, it's not as bright as noonday. It's darker and just a little bit of light that's shining. And so that's how that's kind of portrayed, in sign language. So you have to kind of think about what is it that's being said and what would a visual of that look like. So those are kind of some of the things to kind of think about when you're doing the national anthem. And I would probably do it a little bit different way the next time. And like I said, I like to show y'all the process of it instantly, because when you sit down with a deaf person, you have no idea what they're going to be saying, and or what the topic is. And that's why I like to choose different topics, the topics of the day, so you can kind of get because if you kind of know the context, you can catch their signs with that finger spelling a lot faster. Or if you start the conversation, now you know what the topic is, so you can get that faster. So that's why I tried to show you an instantaneously or in the moment thought process, and knowing that you can go backwards and later in the day and go, I wonder if I could have done this, or would that look better? So that you could do it differently the next time, or the next time that same topic came up. So have fun and enjoy the 4th of July. I'll see you later. Bye.